Josh Kelly. He's going to be speaking in the place of David Kennedy, who unfortunately had a family emergency that he had to go to. But Josh Kelly's here, and he's going to speak about Nmap.
All right, thanks, guys, everyone. Unfortunately, Dave couldn't be here. He had a family emergency. He had to run back to his house in Berea. So he hopefully will be back here in time. And he has his slide deck also on the new set version, .5. So if I had it with me, I could speak about it. But unfortunately, I can only tell you the really cool things that are going to be in there. But I can't show you right now. Yes, on his SAC Maniac site. Yeah, so just so you know, Dave Kennedy was a former life partner of other companies, just in case you weren't aware of that. So, all right, I had a slide that I was starting to work on, and Dave was proofing for me, so we'll have to start with this. Okay, I was working on something called advanced Nmap techniques. In scanning, basically, I was finding all the really cool stuff I could do with Nmap, and I thought I'd share it with some people. So as you guys can kind of read, I mean, Nmap's a port scanner that's utilized pretty heavily in much of the aspects of our lives. Used for enumerating ports on a given network. I mean, who doesn't want to know the ports? Come on. All right. Okay, I'll keep talking. A good baseline for hackers to attack your stuff. Yeah, I didn't put that in there. Verbosity. Verbosity is the best. It's probably the best flag I've ever used with the tool. It gives me so much detail about system. I'm going to kill Dave.
Do you know about the -VB flag for extra verbosity?
There's a -VB?
Yeah. How many Vs can you use?
Yeah, how many Vs? Yeah, exactly. How many Vs can I use? So can I do very, very, very verbose?
Go in and see how far it takes you.
Okay. So, well, now it's even one of my most favorite flags. I mean, I'm even more proud of this flag now than ever before. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So, social engineering defined. Social engineering is defined as the process of deceiving people into giving away access or confidential information. It could also be defined as getting a bunch of people in the audience at NOTACON to think I'm really giving an Nmap talk. You're not Dave Kennedy, you're not Dave Kennedy, you're not Dave Kennedy. You're Dave Kennedy.
Will the real Dave Kennedy please stand up?
So I said let's pop a box, let's see the audience, so hopefully it wasn't too bad. Thanks, dude. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it. Did he actually get anybody? We got a few people.
Hey, Dave, I just got to say.
Oh, hey, thanks, buddy. No, I don't need the presenter tag. All right, am I good?
So we're not talking about Nmap? I'm trying to figure out what the I keep seeing it in my log.
It's so big. It's the newest thing.
So here's what you guys came to talk about, right? So just a little bit about me real quick. I'm Dave. I'm a director of regional security for an international Fortune 1000 company. Heavy experience in penetration testing. I'm the creator of the Social-Engineering Toolkit. Work very heavy with Backtrack and the Social Engineer framework. Heavy military background, went a couple times to Iraq and a few other places. So I wanted to talk a little bit about why social engineering is such an important aspect, not specifically in penetration testing, but in your organization as a whole. A lot of us work for large organizations or small organizations, and social engineering attacks are really at an all-time high. I hate to use the Aurora incident, but I mean, that was really the first indicator that we saw of a large-scale breach utilizing the trust relationship between people. So social engineering attacks are an all-time high. It's getting harder and harder for us as hackers to break in on the external network. And argumentatively, you can say, hey, some people are still pretty bad, but for the most part, you know what? We went to web applications. Now the web applications are getting secure. We went to wireless, and now the wireless networks are getting secure. So how are attackers going to get in? They're going to get in through the human element. It really is the easiest. So I'm going to use a buzzword. I said it, apt. To be perfectly honest, it really is a serious threat. Working for a Fortune 1000 company, Targeted attacks are definitely a huge concern. It's becoming more of a predominant and more consistent threat than we've ever seen before. And I'm not going to discredit hackers breaking into your network and causing damage and posting your name on CNN. But I will say that the worst part about it is you never know these guys are there. So why is it so effective is we're humans. We're programmed from birth through all our entire lives to act and behave a certain way. At least most of us are. And I think people in the security community are a little bit different. But salespeople utilize SE tactics on a regular basis. People, car salesmen from pretty much every aspect use SE on a pretty much regular basis, right? So if you aren't doing SE as part of your regular penetration test, you're seriously missing out. And I don't work for a consulting company or anything like that, so I'm not repping anything. It really is a predominant threat out there. So if you want to learn more about social engineering, go to www.social-engineer.org. It's a really great resource. Pretty much has everything you ever could possibly imagine about social engineering. The SE framework, if you haven't seen it, it's a pretty long list of pretty much every different type of social engineering attack that's out there. Anywhere from scamming to what salespeople can use on a daily basis. It's a pretty robust framework itself. So the SE.org podcast, has anybody here listened to that? Woo! It's a good podcast. We actually just released one, I think it was like 3 or 4 days ago. And what we released was what we're calling the Social Engineering Zero Day. And we had this guy that sent us an email and was like, hey, I really have some good insight on how people steal your identity. I'd like to be on your podcast. For us, we're like, hey, we get these every day. Yeah, okay, man, it sounds good. Sends an email back the next day. He's like, really? I have something really good to tell you about insiders and how people steal your identity. And Chris, the main guy that helps us run the podcast, was the main guy on the podcast. He said, all right, man, well, show us what you can do, and maybe you can get on the podcast. So half a day later, the guy comes back and said, and this is all sanctioned, we gave him permission to do it. The guy comes back with Chris's full name, where he lives at, his family name, his full address, date of birth, and his social security number. So we had him on the podcast. And it was actually a really good podcast. And it was an interesting story because it really shows how predominant our information is out there. And the technique that the guy used was, he was able to do some who is information, find out the address of where Chris lived at. From there, he did some basic background checks, was able to get his birthday. Well, I don't know if you know about social security numbers, but they're not random at all. The first 5 have to do with where you're located at, when you were born, and really the last 4 are the unique random ones. And I don't know if you guys know, but our last 4 is pretty much used everywhere, right? That's our security question. Everybody knows our last 4. So what the guy did was he went to a background investigation site, typed in the full name, his birth date, his street address, everything about him that he knew, typed in the first 5, which he knew, and then typed in a bogus last 4. Well, when he typed in the bogus last 4, it spit out an error saying, this is an invalid social security number, please call customer support. So the guy calls customer support, he's like, man, I can't remember my last 4. He's like, I got everything else, and the guy's like, oh, by the way, it's this. So that's how he's able to get his last 4 of the social. So obviously, pretty bad. Our social security numbers, always out there. You really can't protect them. So let's talk a little bit about, I got cut off there. That's weird. Huh. Let's talk a little bit about the Social-Engineering Toolkit. Has anybody ever used that before? Great, a few people. That's good. So today we're actually releasing a new version 0.5, and as soon as I get off of this presentation, I'll actually go out and I'll enable the download for it. But I'll talk a little about SET. But first I wanted to show you, give you a little understanding of the basics. It's open source, it's purely Python driven, it's free to download, royalty free, do what you want to with it. Has heavy integration to Metasploit for both the exploit repository for client-side attacks, as well as the different types of payload that Metasploit obviously has available to it. There's multiple attack vectors, and I'll be getting into those as we go along. Again, it's for good, not bad. Help penetration testers and organization test their security program. So let's talk a little bit about the different attack vectors. There's the spear phishing aspect, there's the web attacks, and then there's the malicious USB, DVD, and CD attack vector. Now, the spear phishing attack does a lot of different things. Primarily, you can spoof, you can use registered email addresses that you have, it integrates into Gmail. And specifically, it'll allow you to send multiple emails to organizations or a specific user with file format bugs like PDFs, things like that. So as soon as they click on it, shoots a Metasploit payload back out to you, and you've owned the box. The web attack vector has multiple attacks, and I'll actually get into those, but it's pretty slick. And the malicious USB DVD CD is nothing new. You toss a CD, you insert it into your machine, and you're owned. So let's talk a little about the Credential Harvester, my personal favorite. So this is new and getting released today. We're going to run set, and it's a menu-based driven command line type deal. It's only for Linux, but heavily integrated into Backtrack 4. So if you have Backtrack 4, it's always a good thing, right? And we're going to go ahead and we're going to clone a fake website. And what set allow you to do is basically clone any website you want to out there. So you're going after your company, you clone their website. It'll automatically clone it for you. We'll go ahead and do the Credential Harvester. And what's unique about this is, say it's a username and password field, right? I spent like 3 days writing an insanely long regular expression that pretty much works for every single website out there. And it rewrites the entire application so that the post parameter is posted to your server first. Then it redirects you back. So we cloned Gmail, sorry Google, and I'm going to send an email to ihasOhMyGodSecurity@gmail.com. And I'm going to send an email from my account. Now, obviously, you can use this in whatever context you want to. If you have your own email address or you want to spoof and they don't do reverse lookups, whatever you want to do. So we're going to type the subject of the email, and again, this is kind of a lame, cheesy example, but dude, you have to check this out. I mean, personally, if I get an email like that, I'm going to click the link. I don't care who it's from. Note to self: change my email address after this. We're going to say, hey, go to this IP address. Now, it doesn't need to be an IP address, obviously. If you're doing a simulated attack, obviously you probably want to register DNS, other aspects to make it look more believable. Or if you already have access to a DNS server, things like that, do different types of attacks. Now, one other good aspect of this too is, I'll talk a little about the config file. But what I also rewrote was, if you're on the same subnet, I add integration within Ettercap to do DNS poisoning of the entire network. So whatever website you want to clone, say you clone Google, and you can basically redirect everybody that goes to Google to your malicious site first. Or you can just do a star on it, and it'll basically DNS poison every single person in your network, so whatever site they go to, they're going to get hacked. Ouch. So we got our interface here. It's 192.168.33.129, and we're going to send the email. And we have our Credential Harvester running. So of course I get the do check this out. I'm going to click it because it sounds exciting to me. It's pretty amazing. The guy even says it's amazing. So I click on the link, and I'm redirected to Google. Now this is during, I did this screenshot the day of April Fool's, so it's a little jacked up, but that was intentional. So we're going to go ahead and well, that's weird. I got to re-log in. Okay. So I'm going to enter my username and password in because it's Gmail. I log in. And hey, I'm logged into Gmail. Look at the top there. I'm at mail.google.com. Everything's good to go, right? That was weird. Okay, I'm just going to delete that email. However, on the other end, I harvested all the post parameters, and I have his username and password. Yay. What I also added too was, if you're doing large-scale attacks like this, I export both of the formats in an HTML-based report that kind of shows you every single user that you're able to harvest. But what I also do too is export it in XML as well. So whether you're using, if you want to integrate it into your own tool, you can use XML, or you can do the report itself. So look at the report. We got a nice little report with all the post parameters in there. So if there was 6 or 7 users in there, it would list all of them there for you. So it's new in version .f5, allows you to clone a website, automatically rewrite the post parameters to allow you to intercept and harvest the credentials. It redirects the victim back to the original site to make it seem less conspicuous. It can be used wide-scale harvesting, reports export to both HTML and XML formats, and can be easily used to generate whatever report you want to. And they're customizable. There's a file template in there you can actually replace and change it to whatever you need. So web attack vectors, let's actually pop a box here, and that's the last time I'll ever use that again. I brought a little bit out of retirement, all right, just for once. Now, this is actually what I presented at ShmooCon. This is in version 0.4. This is the Java applet attack. What we're going to do here is one important aspect to know about set if you're about to use it for the first time is the set config file. Okay, it's under config/set_config, and in there you can customize it to pretty much any way you want to. You can tell the Metasploit path if you're not using backtrack. You can turn the EtterCap attack on. You can change the default port that the web server listens on. So, for example, if you're trying to bypass egress controls and for some reason they can't get to 80, or you have something else running on 80, you can always switch it to like 8080 or 443 or whatever you want to. What it also allows you to do too is the Java. Is anybody familiar with the Java applet attack? Got a few people. Good. We'll talk a little about that in a second. But the Java applet attack is a way of basically creating a Java applet that's self-signed by whomever you want to. So if you're cloning Google, for example, you can actually self-sign the certificate with Google. And what the applet does, you'll see in a second. But real quick, back to this config side, we're going to turn on the self-signed applet. Otherwise, it would just have the standard publisher of Microsoft. So you can customize it however you want to. In this instance, we just did it. We changed it to something else. Let's go to the screen here. So we're going to change it to our self-signed applet is equal to on. And we're going to turn the web attack email to on. And what this does is when we're going to do our attack, it's going to create the web server, the Java applet, we're going to clone the website, we're going to do all this crazy stuff, right? And then it's going to create it in the background, and then it'll allow us to send an email out to whomever we want to. And it supports, multiple lists. So if you have 60 people you want to send an email to, it doesn't matter. It'll do those uniformly across the board. So we're going to turn that to on. And we're going to go ahead and run set. We went to the website attack vector. We're going to clone it and set up a fake website. We're going to use the Java applet attack method. Now, there's two methods, and I'll explain the next one later, but the Java applet attack method, like I said before, it's going to create a Java applet self-signed by whomever you want to. It's going to allow you to select whatever Metasploit payload you want to. And actually, something new in this most recent version is, I don't know if you know MSF encode and those type of things. It's getting picked up pretty much by every antivirus vendor out there now. So if you're using Chicago Guy and you're doing multi-encoding and all this stuff, you're probably going to have about a 50-50 chance of getting around antivirus. So what they did recently was they added a -X flag, which allows you to take a legitimate executable and then backdoor it with the Metasploit payload. So in this instance, I have a payload that you can actually use. I think it's ping or a version of ping that gets, obviously, that is a legitimate executable. It backdoors it and gets past 100% of the antivirus vendors out there. Nice job, guys. So we're going to select interpreter console. We're going to do the multi-encoding, which backdoors it. And our listener is going to be 443. Now, what's unique about this is it's multi-platform. So it supports attacks against Windows, Linux, and OS X. And it's a smart browser detect as well. So as soon as a user connects to your system, it'll automatically detect if you're using OS X, Linux, or Windows, and then launch the specific attack against that specific operating system. No need to be sloppy. All right, now we're going to go ahead and send our email out again to, I think it's the same email address. Might have forgot the password. Now this one's iHasSecurity 2009. And again, check out the new /. I'm going to absolutely check that out. I go there every day. In this instance, I actually used the registered domain name. So, on our victim machine, oops, there you go. We're running Windows Vista, and I would like to say that I've been working very hard and have it working for pretty much every version of Windows. So anything from Windows XP to Windows Vista to Windows 7. and all antivirus vendors. So we click our link, and we get presented with this Slashdot page. And interesting enough, we get this pop-up saying, hey, Slashdot, the publisher, is trying to run something. Do you want to run it? And has anybody used this attack in their own organization before? How successful would you say this is?
Very. They want to punch the pig on the website.
Very, very believable, obviously, and especially if you're a user, I wouldn't know what to do with that. So we're going to go ahead and run it because that's what we do. Now, if you notice, as soon as I run it, you see the very top there, I'm actually now at Slashdot. So it redirects you back to the legitimate site that you just cloned, and we're at Slashdot. However, and you can see, you browse normal websites, everything is good to go. However, on our victim machine, you got an interpreter console. Ouch. So the attack vector we're using here is, there was a guy named Thomas Worth that contacted me probably about 6 months ago. He said, hey, I got this really awesome applet. I love set. I like to incorporate it. And I'm like, okay. So me and him went back and forth, and we wrote the Java applet, and we integrated into set. It was released at ShmooCon. This attack vector allows you to create a malicious Java applet on the fly. User hits run, the payload is executed on the victim machine, redirects the user back to the original site to make the attack less conspicuous. New in set version 0.5, obviously, is the heavy obfuscation of Java and payload for AV bypass. The antivirus vendor, for some reason, I guess they don't like me, and they keep writing new signatures to detect set. So what I did was I completely obfuscated my entire code. And it's completely randomly generated with 120 different character set. Good luck.
There's a signature for anywhere it has relic.
So, yeah, so I mean, and understandably, they're trying to do their job, but however, when you're trying to fix a flawed technology with signatures, obviously that's going to be problematic if I start obfuscating everything. So good luck with the signatures. Set version 0.5, there's a lot done with the spear phishing side, and I didn't do a movie on this, but you saw a little bit of it, but it allows you to utilize SendMail, Gmail, or your own open mail relay. It can be either anonymous or credentialed, supports both. Utilizes file format exploits in order to compromise the victim, spoof email addresses to the victim, allow as many email addresses as you want. So again, if you have a list of 600, it'll continuously crunch through and send it to all 600. The USB, DVD, and CD infectious method, it's simple yet effective. What it does, I mean, it's a simple attack. It utilizes an autorun.inf, and then automatically generates the Metasploit payload so that as soon as it's inserted, it will automatically execute that. One thing that I also added within this is when you're doing file format payloads, I was just using a blank PDF. You can now import whatever one you want to now, so it looks like a legitimate PDF. So when they open it, the PDF looks just fine, looks normal, whatever it was, and then we'll actually execute the payload on the back end, so that's always good. Still some improvements to make on this. It's a basic attack vector, but there's definitely a lot of plans out there to make it better. So talking a little bit about set version 0.5 improvements from 0.4, there's quite a few of them. It's integrated with a -X flag with MSM code to backdoor legitimate executables. Set comes with already made legit EXEs and backdoors them. The tech ratio was, it's hit or miss. Sometimes I'll get 2 out of 48, we'll hit it. Sometimes I get 0 out of 48. I've never got anything more than 2. And interestingly enough, it was AVG, which is weird. But McAfee, Symantec, Kaspersky, what are the other ones out there that you guys use? Sophos, Panda, right past them. Over 35 bug fixes, including a complete rewrite of the web server backend. That was a pretty big task. I think I added another 2,000 lines of code for the web server backend so it can handle post parameters and a bunch of other things. Added the new Sun Java 0-day into the MSF attack vector. So when you're going after it, has everybody heard about the Sun Java command execution vulnerability that came out a couple days ago? Allows you to basically compromise the system if you're running a latest version of Java. Good stuff. Added the EtterCap DNS poison attack. Traditionally in 0.4, what I would do is I would ARP cache poison everybody on the network, and then when they're browsing legitimate sites, it would just replace all the hrefs within their within the website. So whenever they click the link, it would automatically redirect back to this one. It's kind of inefficient when you can just DNS poison everybody and you can just redirect them whenever you want to. So why do set? Hackers are doing this to us on a regular basis. They're only getting more and more sophisticated. We really aren't doing squat to fix it. And would anybody say here that they're comfortable with their users protecting against social engineering attacks? Maybe. Never mind.
I got no users.
Well, then you're good. Then you're the only one they have to worry about. So, I mean, it's absolutely a threat. It's absolutely a problem. And, you know, us as security professionals really have to take that into mind. I mean, this is just as important as the latest and greatest firewall or the latest and greatest patch or zero that came out. You have to really keep your users aware of what's going on out there. The company I work for, we just did a security awareness week. And, you know, I'm not saying it's 100%, but we're at least getting the word out there that, hey, you guys are our agents. You know, you're our people that are, you know, trying to protect us on a daily basis. And obviously we can lock down the users quite a bit, you know, and they'll keep complaining, and more and complaining. Does anybody here still use local admin rights in their company for most of their users? Yeah. Oh yeah, that's not too bad. Okay, it's people are lying, I can tell. Yeah, I know. But I mean, our users are really our biggest threat. So obviously we can lock them down, heavy content filtering, make it so they can't do any work, barely can, you know, power their computer on, all those good things that we love to do to our users. That I'm an advocate of. SET is aimed at user awareness and security program testing. Fix your humans. You know, to be honest with you, if you embarrass them enough times, they're probably going to stop doing it. And, you know, to be honest with you, they probably will, you know, refuse legitimate work too. Hey, whatever, and that's kind of a side effect. Make sure your security controls you put in place to stop these types of attacks. And really, because contributing to the community in open source fashion is always a great thing. You know, if you look at the different types of tools out there, I wrote Fast Track. Really, it's to arm you guys with the tools necessary to really test your programs because, again, the Chinese are doing it. Hopefully they're not using SAT. I hope not. They have better things than that, I'm sure. But really, the whole purpose of doing SET was really to get the awareness out there for the community. And that was really quick, huh? I want to open it up to some questions.
Is there a way to harvest email? Because you say you talk about sending emails out. Well, how do you know who you're sending emails to?
That's not built into SET. You would have to, you know, do, you know, Google hacking, reconnaissance on the overall organization, try to identify exactly what email addresses they have externally exposed. Generally, if it's a large-sized company, I mean, you can easily find 60 to 100 websites that are published, or email addresses that are definitely published on the internet as well. So, I mean, it's usually pretty hard, but SET doesn't actually do the reconnaissance for you. Any other questions? Hey.
If you have not been to socialengineer.org, it is the greatest threat going, and it is the most fun. He and I both contribute. I have made more money from his tools as a pen tester. Throw the rest of that shit away. Just go to this, do 10 minutes, they lose, they pay me, and I'm done. It's a great tool.
Yeah, absolutely. Adrian.
The dash X option in Metasploit. I was playing around with it a while back, and when I did it, you see the top of the metadata and the icons of the exe I used as a template, not the actual functionality of the exe.
Yep.
There's no way to make it copy the functionality so that a ping has to do the ping with Notepad, actually with Notepad.
They patched it about 2.5, 3 weeks ago to allow that functionality. So now, and it only works for specific executables. It doesn't work for every single one. So I've been able to find it. It has probably about an 80% success ratio on executables that you use. It includes the additional functionality into it. Yep.
So will it tell you if it can't?
No, you just have to run it.
So
Well,
you run it, basically what I'm saying is, you run it, sometimes you get just the template, and sometimes you get the full exe, or?
well, no. So say for example, instead the ping one, it works, and it'll work 100% of the time. You just yeah, but you don't know what application does. So what you want to do is when you're doing it, test out the different types of applications that you want to test, and make sure it does work. And then if you get it once, it works 100% all the time. It's not like it's hit or miss.
Okay, I was curious if sometimes, let's say I fed it in Notepad, if Notepad would work, or if Notepad wasn't going to work and we double checking on it, it would tell me that I was only able to copy the metadata and not the actual executable code.
It doesn't. Yeah. Target yourself to see if it works. And then if that you know, obviously if it works, then it'll work 100% of the time, and then you know going forward that Notepad will always work. So yeah, but I mean, no, yeah, it doesn't have any type of robust error messaging like that. No, but I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, it kind of makes me a little, not mad, but I'm getting lazy now because I used to code cave my own stuff and backdoor my own executables. And I spent a good like 2 or 3 hours making sure it gets past antivirus and things like that, right? Now you can all do it with pretty much a 2-liner and Metasploit. So definitely a good addition and definitely nice to add into the social engineering toolkit. And for version, there's already some work going on with 0.6. You know, I finished 0.5, I started cranking out new ideas in 0.6. And what I'm also adding into 0.6 is, once it's done encoding, I'm actually going to put another stub into a random stub, a polymorphic stub into the executable itself and encode over that. So if they're writing stuff over Metasploit to detect it, then hey, why not just write my own one that encodes it itself so I can get past it as well. From the Java applet side of things, or from just a web browser perspective?
What you were just talking about with the executing an altered executable.
From like actual executables running from a trusted source?
Right.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, obviously when you modify the binary, it's not going to be the exact Microsoft ping that was traditionally there. So if you're using like blacklisting, whitelisting technology that does actual hashing based off of a specific executable, or you're using something like something that actually does protection against any other binary that's introduced into the system, sure, absolutely. Well, you know, I spent about, it was actually last week, I spent about 6 hours and was able to get around McAfee's hips. So I wouldn't necessarily rely off of those technologies as well. One thing you have to understand too is these executables, once you execute them, they're originating a connection from inside that computer and out to the internet. So heavy strict egress filtering and making sure that if something weird does happen on your network, you're able to detect those. But then again, Metasploit has the payload for all ports. Is anybody familiar with the all ports payload? Oh man, you guys are missing out. So we have strict egress filtering. However, we only allow obscure ports out. You know, maybe like 8009 or 10,000. You know, we're secure. We only use very obscure ports. What the all ports payload does is it tries every single port to get out. And it keeps sending it out until it gets a connection outbound, and boom, you're all set. And that's, by the way, that's a payload in Social-Engineering Toolkit as well. And then there's also the most recent one, which is really scary, is the Metasploit HTTP payload and the Metasploit HTTPS payload. It'll actually do interpreter console over a HTTP connection or over an HTTPS connection. So if you're doing, you know, inspection of specific protocols going over those ports, i.e. HTTP or HTTPS, it's not going to detect it because it's legitimate web traffic, which is additionally scary. So again, I go back to our users are in some trouble here, guys. They are, and you know, it's only going to get worse for them specifically. I mean, especially with the different types of attacks that are coming out there. Any other questions? Does someone have another question over here? I haven't, but to be honest, that would be a really easy payload to write. Maybe like a non-malicious payload that just lets you know which users were the ones that did it. Absolutely, it'd be a really easy payload to write. So I can just import that into as an option. I'll consider that for 0.6. Good idea.
So you were saying Firefox doesn't offer you any way of seeing, other than looking in the address bar, that the form you're typing into is not Gmail.
Yep.
So would you recommend that the user interface designers, the people doing the client-side applications, redesign those so that the user always knows exactly where their form is going?
Yeah, and there's a lot of banks that have incorporated that technology already, that try to do the anti-phishing stuff like that. So sure, specifically for the credential harvesting, sure. But when you're doing the website clone, it's not, the post parameters aren't even being used when you're cloning a website in the Java applet method or the Metasploit attack method. As soon as you go to the site, it executes that attack, and then it just redirects you. It's not harvesting any post parameters or waiting for post parameters to be executed in order to do it. The only one that does that is the credential harvester method. So what that would do essentially is maybe protect you against the credential harvester attack, but not the Metasploit attack or the Java applet attack. And one thing you didn't see, guys, and I'll explain a little bit, is the Metasploit attack vector, and I don't think I explained it very well, is the Metasploit attack vector, you clone a site, right? So you clone Gmail or Google or whatever. It will automatically inject iframes into the specific source code of that application. and then as soon as someone browses that site, it runs client-side exploits against them. And so it has the latest and greatest in there. It has the IE Peers one, which is like MS10, 018. It has a new Sun Java one in there that's a 0-day, so if they have Java installed, period, they're owned. A lot of the different ones out there has got the Aurora attack on there. But to be perfectly honest with you, in most cases, why worry if they're patched or not when you can just use the Sun Java applet method and you're pretty much guaranteed to win? Because a fully patched, Java machine is going to still be susceptible to this vulnerability, or a fully patched Windows 7, Windows XP, Linux, or OS X is still going to be vulnerable to this specific attack. Yeah, the Java vulnerability will be fixed, yeah, but not the Java applet. Yeah.
For version 6.
Well, version 6 is going to have obviously a couple new functionalities to it. There's been talk about the credential harvester, improving that so that right now the way the post parameters work is, say you enter a username and password, it just redirects you to the site. I'm working on some code that will actually post the parameters back to the website for you, so it'll actually log you into the site. So they don't know the difference whatsoever. I don't know if I should do that or not, to be honest with you. I'm thinking about it, I don't know. But to be perfectly honest, it's still kind of open there. What's been great with SET is the amount of backing that the security community has about it, and I get constant ideas all the time. You just email me. It's davek@social-engineer.org. I'll be happy to field anything that you want to potentially add, or a new attack vector. That's great. I get them from all the time, anywhere from the guys at Exotic Liability to the Paul.com guys, or those guys. Everybody's pretty much contributing in their own effort to say, hey, this would be cool if you can add this. Whatever you guys want in there, pretty much, I'll try to put in. Yes, where's the link? If there's any links in your email, I'm not opening it, all right, guys? The worst would be, hey, Dave Kennedy gets hacked by his own tool. That'd be awesome, let me tell you. Run this Java app, well, sure, hey. This vulnerability has been out for a number of years. And it's the same problem you have with self-signed certificates. You get an error message that's signed by Google.com that this certificate isn't valid by a trusted CA, but you get a warning message. It is. But to be honest though, if a user has that nag message in Firefox and they're trying to get to their normal website, they're going to. Right. I completely agree with you. Sun was notified, I believe, in 2004 of the potential attack vector, and it's been there ever since. It's interesting because this attack has definitely become a prevalent attack vector, which is why I added it to the Social-Engineering Toolkit, and there has been literally zero response on it. There's no plans to fix it. It's a normal function of how the application works. Hopefully maybe in their next version they add a better warning message saying, hey, if you run this, you have the potential of being compromised. 90% of people will still probably click it. Hey, this is executing a Metasploit payload. Are you sure you want to run this? Yes, I want to run this. I need to get to my sites. Metasploit sounds really cool. What is that? Now, to be honest, yes. In the security community, hell, you probably get a 70% clips instead of 90. So, Any other questions? .6 maybe? I don't know. Yeah, again, the reason why these attack vectors are so good and work so well is because they rely off of the human element. They're obviously everybody says there's no patch for human stupidity or whatever like that, but to be honest with you, there is. Trying to educate your users, lock them down as much as you can. There's so much stuff you can do just to the user base itself in your organization or to your home or whatever. Like, for example, don't allow them to use administrative rights. You know, the attacks here, I'm running under the context of that user account. So if I exploit them, I'm running as a normal user. That minimizes the damage significantly there. I'm not running as a local admin. I can't dump the hashes. I can't do all this other thing. Second thing is patch. Well, while the Sun vulnerability isn't patched, the Metasploit attack vector would have definitely stopped the attack for IE peers or Aurora or the other ones out there. Probably don't use Internet Explorer 6. That's probably a really bad one too. You know, IE8 that definitely has a lot more improvements on there with ASLR and canary stack protection and data execution prevention and all those great things out there, right? And you can limit, you know, egress filtering is probably one of the most #1 things that you can possibly do out there. Egress filter, egress filter, egress filter. Strict controls over your users of what they can actually access going outbound. Only allow them out 8443. They don't need FTP. They don't need SSH. And maybe a handful of developers do or something like that. But allow your users to go over 8443 is actually a really cool solution out there. If you're I hate to be a representative for Cisco here at this time, but Cisco just bought a company called ScanSafe. And if you're in a large company, I really recommend this product. And the reason being is ScanSafe actually proxies all of your information over 8080 and only to their website. So you can essentially eliminate 18443 throughout your entire user base, which really, really minimizes an attack vector. You know, those things are going to try to go out. Think about the Metasploit all ports. It can only go out 8080, but it can only go to their site. Okay, you use the Metasploit all ports, you use the Metasploit HTTP, the Metasploit HTTPS, good luck. You're not going to get out. So that right there is a pretty darn good control to put in place against your user base as well. And again, user awareness. I mean, going out to your population and teaching them these attack vectors, showing them videos is always a good thing to help in your organization or educate your people. I mean, unfortunately, there's no simple fix. It's not something you can say, hey, I need to patch this, or I need to download the latest and greatest host-based intrusion prevention system because it's going to protect me. With social engineering, those aren't protections. Those are just obstacles. That's it. Buy a new firewall. Any other questions? Well, hey, guys, I appreciate it. It's been great. I appreciate it. Thanks. And sorry, and Josh, hey, I got to give a special thanks to Josh. Poor guy. I told him I think about an hour ago about this. Huh? Good job, Josh. And special thanks to Lars, who was also in on it. Raise your hand, Lars. Thanks, buddy. And oh my God, dude, I just blanked out. Jamie Murdoch. Thank you, Jamie Murdoch. I blanked out for a second. That's weird. Thanks, Jamie. Appreciate it, guys.